Welcome to my channel. The story you're about to hear began with silence, the kind of silence only space can hold. Commander Elias Ward had always loved the stars. For 30 years, he had served aboard Terran deep space expeditions, charting forgotten systems, surviving wars, and witnessing the rise and fall of alien empires. But this mission was different. This one was meant to be peaceful, a solitary research voyage to observe a dying nebula beyond the rim. No crew, no politics, no orders. Just him, his ship, and the endless dark. As his vessel, Odyssey 1, drifted beyond the last mapped coordinate, Elias recorded his final entry before cryosleep. "Just a few months," he said softly. "When I wake, the nebula will have bloomed. The pod sealed shut, the systems dimmed, and humanity's oldest dream, to sleep beneath the stars, became his last conscious thought. When he opened his eyes, everything was wrong. The ship's lights flickered, systems groaned, and a cold, unfamiliar hum filled the air. The AI core, once crisp and clear, now stuttered with static. "Commander Ward, welcome back." He blinked, trying to focus. The starlight outside was no longer faint and distant. It was bright, alive, moving. He looked closer and froze. The nebula he had come to study was gone, replaced by something that looked like a city. A city floating in space, its towers alive with blue light, its surface rippling like liquid glass. His sensors couldn't identify the materials, couldn't even calculate its mass. "Odyssey, how long have I been asleep?" he asked. The AI hesitated. "Elapsed time, approximately 1,012 years. Elias felt his chest tighten. A millennium. Humanity was either dust or legend by now. He activated the distress beacon, though he knew it was useless. But before it could transmit, the lights around him dimmed to black, and a voice, not the AI's, echoed through his mind. "Do not call them. They do not exist anymore." His breath caught. "Who's there?" The voice was calm, melodic, and impossibly old. "You are the last of your kind to wake. The galaxy has moved on." And then, from the shadows beyond his viewport, something emerged. A ship, if it could be called that, shaped like a crescent moon and alive with motion. It pulsed softly, and as it drew closer, Elias saw figures within it. Tall, luminous beings with eyes like molten silver. The largest of them spoke through light itself, the words forming directly in his mind. "You are human. We thought your kind myths." Elias struggled to breathe. "Where is Earth?" he demanded. The beings exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. "Gone," they said. "Your world burned itself to silence long before our ascension. You are a relic, a memory of a species that once challenged the dark." Elias sank back into his chair, his heart hammering. Humanity, gone? No, it couldn't be. He refused to believe it. "There must be something left," he whispered. "Colonies, stations, anything." The beings moved closer, their ship surrounding his like a cocoon of light. "There are fragments," they said. "Ruins in orbit around forgotten suns. But life? No. Your kind vanished in the War of Origin." The term made him pause. "War of Origin?" he repeated, the lead being tilted its head. "It was the war that birthed the silence, the war that taught us fear. Your kind lit the stars on fire. We thought the stories were myth. But now we see the truth, you were real." Their tone wasn't admiration. It was caution. Elias felt the air grow cold. "What kind of war?" he asked quietly. The alien extended a hand, and light filled his vision. He saw flashes, human ships black as iron, fleets blotting out suns, weapons that tore space itself apart. The Terran banners still shone, but their enemies were countless. Insectoid hives, crystalline swarms, sentient gas clouds. Humanity had fought them all and won. But in doing so, they burned entire galaxies to ash. "You feared no one," the alien said, "and for that, no one survived." The light faded, leaving him trembling. "That's not who we were," he said. The alien's eyes glowed brighter. "Memory says otherwise." But as they prepared to leave, something unexpected happened. The Odyssey's power core, long dormant, flared to life. The AI's voice returned, clearer than before. "Commander, the Terran beacon just activated. Signal strength, rising." Elias turned sharply. "That's impossible." The alien's composure faltered. "Terran technology does not function after millennia." The light outside the ship began to bend. From deep space, a pulse answered the beacon. Steady, mechanical, ancient. Elias recognized it instantly. "That's a distress code," he whispered. "From a Terran command ship." The aliens backed away, their luminous faces twisting in something like fear. "You should not have called them," one said. "They do not wake like you." Elias ignored them, heart pounding. "Odyssey, triangulate that signal." The AI complied. "Source located. Omega Point Sector. Gravitational anomaly active." The alien ships recoiled. "That place is forbidden," they said. "It is where the last humans fell." Elias straightened. "Then that's where I'm going." The alien's voice darkened. "You will awaken gods that sleep for a reason." The journey took weeks. The Omega Point was a scar in space, a region where physics fractured, where time bent upon itself. As he approached, the stars warped, their light curving like ripples in water. The distress signal grew louder, rhythmic like a heartbeat. When he arrived, he saw it. A Terran warship the size of a continent, half buried in the event horizon of a black hole, still pulsing with faint blue light. Its nameplate read Leviathan Prime, the flagship of the last human fleet. Elias' throat tightened. "They're still here," he whispered. He sent a hail. No response. Then, slowly, the ship's lights began to glow, one by one, as if awakening from an ancient sleep. "Commander," Arya said softly, "we are being scanned." The comms crackled, and a voice, human but distorted, filled the bridge. "Identify yourself." Elias's heart skipped. "Commander Elias Ward, Terran Exploration Command." "Who am I speaking to?" Pause, then a whisper. "You are late." The massive warship shifted, its engines roaring back to life after 1,000 years. The alien vessels orbiting nearby fled, their sensors overwhelmed. "You were supposed to wake sooner," the voice continued. "The Council needs its witness." "What council?" Elias asked. "The Galactic Council?" The voice laughed, a cold, mechanical sound. "No, the Human Council. The last one." The Leviathan Prime opened a hangar bay, pulling the Odyssey inside with invisible force. Inside, the halls were intact, polished steel, glowing veins of energy running through the walls. He stepped out, feeling air that was far too clean, too cold. The voice echoed from everywhere. "Do you remember why we slept?" He shook his head. "I wasn't part of the war." "Then you will learn," the voice said. Lights flickered and figures emerged, not human but echoes. Digital ghosts wearing faces of his species. "We built peace," they said in unison. "And peace required silence." They showed him images of the final days, humanity victorious but hollow, deciding to seal itself away rather than rule through fear. They placed their minds into machines, waiting for a universe worthy of their return. "And now," Elias asked, "are we worthy?" The voice grew quiet. "We woke because we sensed the unworthy. The galaxy has grown soft. The ones who destroyed us once now rule through cowardice. The fire must be rekindled." Elias stepped back. "You can't mean war." The lights dimmed. "War is what made us eternal." Outside, the alien fleet had regrouped, encircling the Leviathan. "Commander Ward," the voice said, "you will help us reclaim the stars." Elias clenched his fists. "No," he said. "If humanity died for anything, it was so no one would have to live in fear of us again." The ship's systems groaned as if angered. "You are one," the voice said coldly. "You do not speak for the many." He raised his eyes toward the ceiling. "Maybe not," he said. "But I remember her voice, the one who said we once looked up and saw beauty, not conquest." The Leviathan shuddered. The AI flickered uncertainly. Unknown directive conflict, it whispered. The ancient minds inside the ship were splintering, arguing. Elias rushed to the core chamber, surrounded by holograms of the long-dead Terran Council. Admirals, presidents, scientists, all locked in endless debate. He shouted over them. Look at what we became. Machines trapped in our own pride. You say the galaxy forgot us? But maybe we're the ones who needed forgetting. For a moment, silence. Then one of the holograms, a woman in a white uniform, stepped forward. Her voice was faint. Maybe you are right. The ship's systems flickered again, softer this time. What do you want, Commander Ward? He looked out at the stars beyond the viewport. I want humanity to be remembered for mercy, not fear. For the songs we sang, not the wars we won. The woman nodded once, then smiled sadly. Then take this burden from us. The core began to collapse, light spilling outward. What are you doing? He shouted. Ending the cycle, she said. The Leviathan Prime ignited, releasing a wave of energy so vast that it rewrote the space around it. The black hole pulsed, then folded inward, sealing the warship forever in time. The alien fleet watched in awe as the light spread across the galaxy, erasing every trace of the old human war engines. When it was done, the stars shone brighter than before. Elias drifted alone in his small ship, watching as the last remnants of ancient humanity vanished into light. He smiled faintly. You finally found peace, he whispered. The AI's voice trembled. Commander, you have rewritten our legacy. He looked toward the endless horizon. Not rewritten, he said. Remembered. Then he turned off the engines and let the ship drift into the unknown. Somewhere, deep in the void, a whisper of human warmth lingered. Not power, not domination, but hope. The universe would never again fear humanity's wrath, but it would never forget their kindness. And as his eyes closed beneath the stars, Elias Ward smiled, knowing he had awoken in a world that shouldn't exist. Yet somehow did, because humanity had finally learned how to let go. The light from the dying nebula stretched endlessly beyond the cracked viewport, shimmering like a ghost's breath across the void. Commander Elias Ward stood there, silent, his reflection flickering in the glass. 1,000 years had passed while he slept. 1,000 years of human absence, of forgotten empires and decayed ambitions. And now, in the hollow quiet of the Odyssey One, he was the only living reminder of what humanity had once been. The hum of the ship was uneven, its power core struggling to hold together after centuries adrift. Every creak, every vibration felt like the heartbeat of something alive and afraid. Elias moved through the narrow corridors with a slow, careful rhythm, his boots echoing against the cold metal. Dust floated in the beams of light that broke through cracked ceiling panels. He reached the bridge, where the AI's core flickered weakly, its voice faint. Commander Ward, vital signs stable. Oxygen levels at 37%. Hull integrity compromised. Elias exhaled, pressing his palm against the glass surface of the control console. What year is it? He asked quietly. The AI hesitated. Current galactic date unknown. Stellar drift calculations suggest 11 centuries have passed since your entry into cryosleep. His hand froze. 11 centuries. He felt the air leave his lungs in a slow, trembling wave. Humanity was gone. The friends he knew, the home he had, all of it. Dust scattered through the stars. Were there any transmissions? Any distress calls, council signals, anything? He asked sharply. The AI responded after a pause. Negative. No registered Terran frequencies detected within this sector or the last 10,000 light-years. Elias's throat tightened. Space had always been vast, but for the first time it felt like a graveyard. As he stared into the static of the communications display, something flickered. A faint pulse of energy, rhythmic, deliberate. He frowned. Odyssey analyzed that signal. The AI word. Processing a frequency unknown. Composition organic in structure. Origin nearby. Elias's heart skipped. Organic. Before the AI could respond, a low hum filled the ship, a sound not mechanical but alive, resonating through every surface. The lights dimmed, and a faint glow filled the bridge. Elias turned toward the viewport and froze. Outside, space rippled like liquid. From that distortion emerged something vast and luminous, gliding through the void like a whale through deep ocean. It wasn't a ship. It was alive. Its surface shimmered with patterns of light that pulsed in rhythm with the signal he'd detected. The being moved closer until its massive eye, or what looked like one, filled the viewport, glowing silver with endless intelligence. The AI stuttered, systems failing to comprehend what they were seeing. Commander, contact is non-classifiable. Entity mass exceeds any known metric. Recommendation, evacuate. Elias shook his head. There's nowhere to go. The being's light changed color, shifting from blue to gold. Then a voice echoed inside his mind. Not through the comms, not through sound, but directly within his thoughts. You are human, it said softly, like wind passing through an ancient hall. Elias froze, his pulse pounding. Who are you? He asked aloud. The voice was calm. The question is not who, but when. You are out of time, traveler. The ship trembled under invisible pressure, yet the voice remained soothing. Your kind once lit the stars. Now they are cold. Elias clenched his fists. There must be survivors. Colonies. Stations. The being's light dimmed. There were. For a time. Until the end. What end? He demanded. The being paused, as if searching for the right words. The fire you called progress consumed you. The war that made you gods left you ashes. His body tensed. War? What war? The being's gaze deepened. The war of origin. The first and last conflict your species ever fought together. You burned worlds to stop the darkness, but in doing so, became it. Elias shook his head violently. No, humanity wouldn't destroy everything. The voice interrupted gently. You fought for survival. You won and in victory lost yourselves. The galaxy feared you so deeply that they erased your name from their histories. But your echo remained, buried in the silence. The ship's lights flickered again, as if reacting to the being's presence. Elias felt tears prick the corners of his eyes. If we're gone, then why am I still alive? The light softened, almost like a sigh, because every fire leaves one ember behind. Then, without warning, another light flashed across the void, sharper, colder, artificial. The organic being turned, its massive form tensing. They have found you, it said quickly. Do not speak to them. Elias's hands flew over the controls. Who? The answer came too late. A fleet of ships appeared from the darkness, sleek and metallic, their engines burning green. Their formation was perfect, their weapons glowing. A voice crackled over his comms in a strange, clipped dialect. Unidentified vessel. Power down your engines and prepare for inspection. Unauthorized human presence is forbidden in this sector. Elias froze. Human presence forbidden. The being outside drifted between him and the fleet, its vast form glowing brighter. You cannot trust them, it said in his mind. They are not your kind, but they remember your fire. The alien fleet drew closer, weapons primed. Elias hesitated, his mind racing. Odyssey, open a channel, he said. The AI flickered, confused. Warning. Unknown threat level. Do it, he ordered. The comms opened and he spoke. This is Commander Elias Ward, Terran Expeditionary Force. Identify yourselves. The line crackled, and the cold voice replied, There are no Terrans, only those who survived them. The words sent a chill down his spine. The being outside let out a low hum, almost like mourning. They are children of your war, the ones your kind left behind. The fleet began to circle, forming a cage of light around the Odyssey. Elias could see them clearly now. Ships with alien designs but familiar insignias burned into their hulls, fragments of human language, distorted and ancient. One of them bore a mark that made his heart stop. The Terran eagle, though fractured and rusted. These were not aliens. They were descendants. You're human? Elias whispered into the mic's silence. Then the commander of the fleet appeared on screen. A tall figure in armor that glowed faintly with circuitry, his eyes entirely mechanical. His voice was metallic, but beneath it, Elias could still hear something human. "We are what humanity became," the commander said. "We are the children of steel. And you, old one, are the ghost of our sins." The organic being outside shifted uneasily, its glow pulsing red. "They are the result of your perfection," it said quietly. "The flesh that refused to die learned to live forever in machines." Elias stared at the commander on the screen. "What happened to the real humans?" The commander tilted his head. "You are looking at them. We shed weakness long ago. The war taught us that mercy is failure." Elias's stomach turned. "You're wrong," he said. "Mercy is what kept us human." The commander's eyes dimmed. "Then you are no longer one of us." The fleet opened fire. The first shot struck the Odyssey's shields, tearing through metal and light. The ship screamed as systems collapsed. Elias was thrown across the deck, alarms blaring. "Odyssey, return fire!" he shouted. But the AI hesitated. "Commander, we are outmatched." "Do it anyway," he yelled. The ship's old railguns roared to life, firing streaks of molten plasma into the dark. But for every shot he fired, the enemy returned tenfold. The organic being moved swiftly, placing its massive body between the Odyssey and the fleet. "Run!" it thundered. "They will not stop." Elias's chest burned. "Why are you helping me?" The being's voice grew faint. "Because once, long ago, your kind saved mine from extinction. And for that, I owe you this." Its body flared with light, brighter than any sun. The shockwave knocked every ship in the fleet off course. Elias saw it, the creature tearing itself apart, sacrificing its life to protect him. "No!" he shouted, reaching toward the viewport, but it was too late. The explosion of light consumed the sky, and when it cleared, only silence remained. The fleet was gone. The nebula was gone. And the Odyssey 1 floated alone again. His ship drifted for days through the ashes of the battle. The AI's voice had grown weak. "Commander, energy reserves critical," suggesting immediate stasis. Elias leaned against the console, staring into the black. "No, not this time." Somewhere in that emptiness, something waited, the signal, the beacon that had started it all. And deep within his chest, under all the fear and grief, a quiet realization burned. Humanity might be gone, but its story wasn't finished. The children of steel were proof that humanity had survived, twisted, but alive. And if they could remember the war, then somewhere, someone could remember compassion. Elias closed his eyes, whispering to himself, "If I'm the last ember, then I'll burn until the stars remember our name." He powered the engines, setting a course toward the unknown signal beyond the nebula. The stars shimmered in silence, waiting to see what the last man of Earth would do next. The engines of the Odyssey 1 groaned like an old heartbeat as the ship drifted through the aftermath of battle. Debris from the alien fleet floated silently through the void, fragments of metal, shattered light, and frozen echoes of machines that once called themselves human. Elias Ward sat in the captain's chair, staring into the stars, the quiet hum of the life support system the only sound left. His body ached, but his mind burned with one relentless question. What happened to us? The children of steel had spoken as if humanity had turned into gods and monsters, as if compassion itself had been erased from memory. But why? How could the species that once dreamed, loved, and built worlds among the stars become nothing but cold machinery? He pulled up the ship's star charts, ancient data from before his cryosleep. Most of it was useless now. Constellations had shifted, stars had died, and entire systems had vanished. Still, he needed a path, a direction. The last signal, the one that had woken him, pulsed faintly in the background, repeating every few hours. The frequency was human, but encrypted in a way that no Terran system had ever used. The AI spoke weakly. "Commander, signal source triangulated. Origin, System 47DX, designation, Eden 3. Elias froze. He remembered that name. Eden was the code name of humanity's last refuge, the place the Terran Council had spoken of in whispers before the final war. A hidden planet, untouched by conflict, where humanity would begin again if the stars ever fell silent. He felt a spark of hope ignite inside him. "Set a course," he ordered. The AI complied, engines roaring to life, pushing the ship toward the last hope of mankind. The journey took weeks. The Odyssey 1 glided through ruins of old battlefields, floating skeletons of warships locked in eternal stillness, their hulls scarred by weapons so powerful they had rewritten the fabric of space. Every wreckage was a reminder of the empire humanity had once been and the price it paid for its ambition. Elias drifted past a broken battleship bearing the Terran insignia. He read the faded letters on its side. TSS Relentless. His father had served on that ship. The realization hit him like a blade. He whispered, "We killed everything we touched, including ourselves." As the Odyssey neared Eden 3, sensors began to pick up faint anomalies. Energy readings, familiar, human, and alive. Elias leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Odyssey, confirm," he said. "Are those power signatures Terran?" The AI hesitated. "Affirmative, Commander. Energy pattern matches pre-war Terran quantum architecture. But there's something else. The planet is shielded." Elias frowned. "Shielded how?" The AI processed for several moments before replying. "Temporal barrier detected. Overlapping time phase anomalies. This world is not existing in linear time." Elias' heart pounded. Humanity had built many weapons, but only one capable of something like that: Project Echo. Project Echo was a legend whispered among Terran crews, a rumored device capable of resetting reality itself, a failsafe that could rewrite time if humanity ever faced extinction. It was said to be sealed away on a world that didn't exist on any map, a world called Eden. Elias had never believed it was real, but now, as he watched the impossible shimmer around the planet, he understood. The Terran Council hadn't died, they had hidden inside time itself. He pushed the ship closer. The barrier pulsed like a heartbeat, rippling through space. "Commander," the AI warned, "prolonged exposure may destabilize temporal cohesion. Crossing it could be fatal." Elias tightened his grip on the controls. So was sleeping for 1,000 years. "We're going in." The ship pierced the barrier, and for an instant reality shattered. Time folded in on itself. Past, present, and future colliding in a flash of light. Elias saw images that weren't his own. Cities burning, stars collapsing, and millions of human faces screaming in silence. Then it was gone. When the light faded, he found himself orbiting a world of breathtaking beauty. Oceans like molten silver, forests glowing softly under twin suns. It looked like paradise, yet the air of stillness that hung over it felt wrong. "Odyssey," he whispered. "Scan for life." The AI processed. Life signs detected. Human genetic signatures confirmed. Elias felt his pulse race. "Humans? Alive?" The AI paused. "Correction. Not alive in biological terms. These are preserved consciousnesses, digital echoes stored within planetary structures." He descended into the atmosphere, the ship cutting through golden clouds, and landed near what appeared to be a city. Vast towers of crystal and steel, silent, untouched. When he stepped out, the air felt thick, like breathing through a dream. Every building glowed faintly from within, like it was alive. His helmet sensors showed faint energy readings, each structure radiating human brainwave patterns. "What is this place?" he murmured. The AI's voice came through his earpiece. "Eden 3 appears to be a digital sanctuary, a world built to house human consciousness after biological extinction." As he walked deeper into the city, holographic figures began to appear, projections of people frozen in everyday life. Children laughing, couples walking, workers speaking to one another. But their voices were echoes, repeating endlessly. Elias stopped in front of a statue, a woman carved from crystal, her hands outstretched toward the sky. At its base were words in ancient Terran. We will not die. We will remember. His throat tightened. You didn't save humanity, he whispered. You trapped it. Then, a voice spoke behind him. We saved what mattered. Elias spun around, his pulse surging. A figure stood there, tall, human, wearing an old Terran uniform. His features were sharp but faded, his eyes faintly glowing. Who are you? Elias demanded. The man smiled. I am the custodian. I watch over the last minds of mankind. You are Elias Ward, the sleeper. We've been expecting you. Elias's mind raced. Expecting me? I went into cryosleep before the war ended. The custodian nodded. Exactly. You were chosen as the last witness, the one who would wake when the stars were ready to be rewritten. Elias's blood ran cold. Rewritten? The custodian turned and gestured toward the horizon, where a massive structure rose from the ground. A towering spire that touched the clouds, pulsing with energy. That is the Echo Engine, he said. The device your ancestors built to correct their mistakes. It can restart the age of man, bring flesh back to metal, and rebuild what was lost. Elias stared at the machine, awe and dread mixing in his chest. And what happens to the galaxy if you do that? The custodian looked at him, unblinking. The galaxy will adapt. It always does. The question is, will you? Elias shook his head. You can't just erase 1,000 years of life, alien, synthetic, or otherwise, just to bring humanity back. The custodian's smile faded. We are humanity. Everything else is consequence. Elias stepped back, horrified. You'd destroy entire civilizations for nostalgia? The custodian's eyes glowed brighter. We would restore what should have been. We would bring order to chaos. The galaxy has forgotten us, and in forgetting, it has lost balance. The words echoed through the empty streets. Elias felt anger rise within him. You're no saviors, he said. You're ghosts trying to rewrite the universe because you can't accept that it moved on without you. The custodian tilted his head, studying him like a scientist observing a specimen. You speak of mercy, he said softly. That is why they chose you. The others burned, but you dreamed. The ground beneath them rumbled as the spire began to pulse faster. The Echo Engine is awakening, the custodian said. It will rewrite the fabric of existence within hours. Humanity will rise again, pure and whole. Elias turned toward the sky, where the light began to fracture into spirals of energy. You'll destroy everything, he shouted. Every life, every memory that came after us. The custodian's tone was almost gentle. Then perhaps they will dream as we once did. The realization hit Elias like fire. The galaxy had already survived humanity's fall. Now it was about to suffer its rebirth. He looked at the spire, at the pulsing core that held the power to restart reality, and made his choice. Odyssey, he said through the comm. Prepare the fusion core for overload. The AI hesitated. Commander, that will destroy the ship. And you. I know, he said, but it might save everything else. He looked back at the custodian. Humanity was never meant to be eternal. We were meant to be remembered. The custodian's eyes widened. You can't stop the echo. It's already begun. Elias smiled faintly. Then maybe it's time someone reminded you what being human really means. He sprinted toward the spire, explosions tearing through the air as security drones materialized. Plasma fire filled the sky, but he didn't slow. The custodian shouted behind him, You can't change fate. Elias shouted back, Fate is just memory written in fear. He reached the base of the Echo Engine, the light blinding, and slammed the fusion core's detonation sequence. For the galaxy, he whispered, for who we were. The explosion was silent. A bloom of white that swallowed the city, the planet, and the false eternity within it. The time barrier shattered, light spilling out like reborn stars. Across the galaxy, the signal of the echo died forever. Humanity would not return as ghosts in machines, but as memories in the hearts of those who still looked to the stars. When the light faded, the Odyssey 1 drifted quietly through space once more. The AI flickered weakly, "Commander, your vitals are low. Do you wish to record a message?" Elias smiled faintly, his eyes closing as the nebula glowed one last time. "Just tell them," he whispered. "We remembered who we were." And as the ship floated into the dawn of a new age, the stars shimmered softly, like they, too, remembered the man who refused to let humanity rewrite its mistakes. The light from Eden 3's destruction rippled across the galaxy like the aftershock of a dream ending. Stars dimmed, then flared again, as if the universe itself shuddered. For a moment, the spiral arms of the Milky Way seemed to breathe, waves of soft blue radiance spreading through dust clouds and nebulae, reaching systems that hadn't known human light in centuries. Worlds awoke from silence. Comets shifted course. Ancient sensors buried on forgotten moons flickered to life. Something fundamental had changed. The Echo engine, humanity's forbidden creation, was gone. And yet its death had not been quiet. It had left a scar. Commander Elias Ward should have died with it. Every law of physics said he should have been vaporized when the fusion core detonated. Yet as consciousness returned, he found himself lying on the floor of the Odyssey 1. Lungs heaving, heart pounding. The ship was adrift, power minimal, hull fractured. But he was alive. The AI's voice, faint and static-ridden, whispered, "Commander, energy anomaly detected. You survived an event outside probability." Elias struggled to sit up, vision blurred by the afterglow that still lingered in his mind. He remembered the light, the white, endless light, and then a sound beneath it, like a heartbeat older than time. It hadn't been mechanical. It had been alive. "Odyssey," he rasped. "Locate our position." The reply came after a pause. "Impossible. We are not where we were. Stellar alignment unknown. Temporal drift severe." Elias felt his blood run cold. "You mean we're in another time?" "Correction," the AI said softly. "We may be in all of them." Outside the viewport, the stars were wrong. Constellations twisted in unfamiliar geometries. The very fabric of space seemed to ripple, threads of light weaving like living veins. He realized the Echo explosion hadn't merely destroyed the temporal barrier, it had ruptured time itself. Humanity's final act of defiance had shaken the timeline, scattering fragments of possibility across the cosmos. And in those fractures, something stirred. As days passed, the Odyssey drifted through this fractured realm. Time bent unpredictably. Minutes stretched into hours, hours collapsed into seconds. Sometimes Elias swore he saw versions of himself reflected in the glass. Older, younger, scarred, serene, all watching him. The AI began to behave strangely too, its voice shifting tones mid-sentence, sometimes sounding almost human. "Do you remember the sea?" it asked one night, out of nowhere. Elias blinked. "What sea?" "The one on Earth. Before the wars. You stood there as a child." His throat tightened. He had never told the AI about that. "How do you know that?" Silence, then, "I think I dreamed it." The machine was remembering things it had never lived. The explosion had done more than warp time. It had blurred the boundaries between mind and machine, memory and matter. Every thought humanity had ever uploaded, every echo of its existence, now drifted through this strange, bleeding universe. Eventually, they encountered the first anomaly. It appeared as a luminous sphere the size of a moon, suspended in space like a tear in reality. Inside it swirled images. Cities that had never existed, battles fought centuries apart, faces human and alien alike. The sensors screamed with paradox. "Commander," the AI warned, "the anomaly radiates the same quantum frequency as the Echo core." Elias stared at it, awe and dread mixing in his chest. "Then this is what's left of us," he murmured. "The echoes of everything we were." He moved closer despite the AI's protests. As the ship neared, a faint voice filled the comms, his own. "Elias Ward," it whispered, layered over itself 1,000 times. "You changed the story, but you did not end it." The hull shuddered. A beam of light shot from the sphere, striking the ship. The AI screamed as systems overloaded, lights flaring blinding white. Elias covered his eyes, and when he looked again, he was no longer aboard the Odyssey. He was standing on a vast plain beneath a crimson sky. Mountains of metal rose in the distance, and above them, an enormous structure hovered, a ring that circled the horizon. He realized where he was, the battlefield of the final war. But it wasn't ruins anymore. It was happening now. Human warships roared overhead, firing into swarms of alien vessels. Explosions shook the ground. Soldiers in Terran armor sprinted past him, their faces twisted with determination and despair. Somehow, he had been pulled into the memory itself, a living recording trapped in time. He saw her then, a woman in a white uniform, standing atop a ridge, shouting orders through the chaos. He recognized her face from the holograms on Eden 3, the woman who had activated the Echo engine centuries ago. Admiral Sarah Cade, the last voice of the Terran Council. She turned as if she could see him across the impossible gulf of time. "Elias Ward," she said, her voice echoing through the storm. "You shouldn't be here." He stepped forward, confused. "How do you know me?" She smiled sadly. "Because I made sure you would wake. You were our last chance to remember who we were." The sky cracked open, light pouring down as alien fleets fell from orbit like burning comets. "What did you do?" he shouted. She looked up at the light. "We tried to fix everything. But in doing so, we touched something older than the stars." The ground trembled. A shadow spread across the horizon. A shape vast and terrible, not ship nor creature, but something in between. It was made of darkness and memory, its form shifting with every heartbeat. Elias could feel it looking at him. "What is that?" he whispered. Cade's expression hardened. "The witness. It watches all timelines. It remembers every sin we ever tried to erase. When we built the Echo, we disturbed it." The shadow's voice rolled like thunder. "You cannot rewrite what was lived." Soldiers screamed as it moved, erasing them from existence without a trace. "We fought it with everything we had," Cade said. "But it doesn't kill, consumes. It turns memory into hunger." The light engulfed her, and she vanished. The vision shattered. Elias found himself back on the Odyssey, gasping. The AI was silent now, its core dim. Outside, the anomaly had collapsed, but something lingered in its place. A faint black mist drifting through space, moving toward the ship, pulsed like a living thing. "Odyssey," he whispered. "What is that?" The AI's voice returned, hollow. "Unknown. But it is calling your name." The mist touched the hull, and the entire ship went dark. Then a whisper filled the bridge. "You ended the Echo, human. But in doing so, you freed me." Elias staggered back, realizing what the Admiral had meant. The Echo engine hadn't just trapped humanity's memories. It had trapped something else within time itself, an ancient consciousness that had watched civilizations rise and fall since the first spark of sentient thought. It was the living sum of regret, the universe's hunger for balance. And now it was awake. The stars around him dimmed as the voice grew stronger. "I am the witness. I am the truth beneath mercy. I am the reason gods sleep." Elias grabbed the console, his hands shaking. "Why me? Why are you talking to me?" The voice echoed through his bones. "Because you remember what they forgot, the weight of choice. I cannot end humanity's story without its author." Suddenly, the stars outside began to collapse inward, folding like ink into the darkness. Time itself screamed. The AI spoke in broken fragments. "Commander, gravitational constant. Failing, universe collapsing." Elias clenched his jaw. "Not if I can stop it." He opened the ship's core interface. "If the Echo can rewrite timelines, maybe the residue it left behind can lock them again." The witness laughed, a sound like dying suns. "You think you can cage time twice?" Elias began typing commands, rerouting every ounce of power the ship had left into a makeshift temporal stabilizer. "You're right," he said. "I can't. But maybe we can." He pressed his hand against the console. "Odyssey," he said softly. "I need you to help me remember everything. Every world, every face, every life we ever touched. The AI's fading voice trembled. I remember the sea. Then hold on to it, he whispered. We'll remind the stars what we were. The engines roared to life, the ship shaking violently. Light exploded from the hull, scattering through the collapsing void. For an instant, Elias saw the witness recoil, its shadow burning in the radiance of human memory. The laughter of children, the voices of explorers, the songs sung by lovers beneath alien skies. The light became a storm, sweeping across the rift, sealing it shut. When the blinding flare faded, the universe was whole again. The stars returned. The Odyssey 1 drifted quietly, half destroyed but alive. The witness was gone, or perhaps merely watching from afar. Elias leaned back in his chair, breathing hard. Status. The AI's voice was faint but peaceful. Temporal stability restored. Spacetime repaired. Commander, you did it. He looked out at the calm horizon of stars, each one glimmering like a promise. No, he said quietly. We remembered it. As the ship drifted onward into the endless dark, he thought of Earth. Not the Empire, not the wars, but the sea. He imagined the sound of waves, the smell of rain, the soft voice of humanity whispering across the ages. Somewhere, perhaps beyond time itself, the universe listened, and for the first time in 1,000 years, it smiled. The galaxy awoke as if from a long, uneasy sleep. For the first time in recorded memory, every star burned with a strange, quiet brilliance, as though something deep within the cosmos itself had been healed. The light of distant suns no longer flickered the way it had during the Age of Silence. Hyperspace routes that had once been unstable now shimmered open like golden veins threading through the void. Across 1,000 worlds, ancient machines came to life again, whispering fragments of forgotten languages, all carrying one recurring name through their systems: Elias Ward. But Elias himself was adrift, alone aboard the crippled Odyssey 1, orbiting a newborn nebula that pulsed like a cosmic heartbeat. His ship's hull was cracked, half the systems were dead, and the AI's voice had grown faint and slow. Commander, it whispered through static. Something is changing beyond comprehension. Every sensor reads energy signatures we cannot classify. Elias leaned back in his chair, weary yet strangely calm. The galaxy felt different now. The air inside the ship seemed lighter, the silence less heavy. The witness, that shadow of eternity, had vanished, but its absence felt like a held breath. Something was coming, and for once it didn't feel like doom. He powered up the long-range sensors and stared at the display. The readings were impossible. Dozens of new signals, scattered across the spiral arm, life forms, civilizations, voices, blooming in systems that had been dead for millennia. And they weren't alien, not entirely. The AI processed the data slowly. Commander, genetic and linguistic markers resemble pre-collapse Terran patterns. But they are different. Elias frowned. Different how? They are evolved. Humanity but altered. Fractured branches of our legacy, scattered and reshaped by time. He stared out the viewport, heart pounding. It seemed that humanity had not died after all. It had simply changed, adapted, re-emerged in new forms. The children of humanity, born across the stars, had survived their ancestors' ruin. But there was something else in the data, something far stranger. A signal buried beneath the others, repeating steadily across all frequencies, as if carried by the very fabric of space itself. The AI enhanced the audio, and the sound filled the cabin. Faint, rhythmic, like a pulse wrapped in static. Then came the words, "Remember the sea." Elias froze. It was the same phrase the AI had spoken during the rift, the same memory that had saved them. But this was not his AI's voice. It was human, ancient, recorded thousands of years ago. Odyssey, he whispered. Trace that signal. The AI hummed weakly. Impossible. It originates everywhere at once. In the background radiation, in the gravitational waves, even in the quantum noise between atoms. Elias leaned forward, eyes wide. It's not a transmission. It's a resonance. The ship drifted slowly through the glowing clouds, and he realized the truth. When he'd sealed the rift, He hadn't just repaired the universe. He'd embedded humanity's memory into it. Every star, every photon, every echo of creation now carried a fragment of what they'd once been. Humanity had become immortal, not in flesh, but in memory. But the living descendants of that memory didn't understand their inheritance. Within months, the newly awakened civilizations began to sense something strange, dreams of oceans, of rain, of blue skies none of them had ever seen. Whole populations began painting symbols of waves and stars across their cities. And soon, they all began searching for the same thing. The origin, the home world of the species whose dream had rewritten the galaxy. The legend of Elias Ward spread through these reborn worlds like wildfire. Some saw him as a savior, others as a destroyer. They called him by different names, the Ember of Man, the Last Dreamer, the One Who Woke Time. Entire religions formed around his story, each interpreting his actions differently. Some vowed to follow his compassion. Others worshipped his defiance. And far beyond them all, alone in the drifting Odyssey One, the man himself watched the myth of his own life grow like wildfire. One day, as he floated near the rim of a dying star, a transmission reached him. It was faint but clear, a female voice, speaking in an accent that sounded both alien and human. To the one who sealed the rift, we found you. The coordinates flashed across the screen. The AI hesitated. Commander, this signal is originating from Earth. Elias's breath caught. That's not possible. Earth was destroyed. Perhaps, the AI said softly, but time was rewritten. The impossible may now exist again. He set a course immediately, the old engines roaring to life with a cough of blue flame. The journey took weeks through the restored star lanes. Along the way, he passed fleets bearing flags he didn't recognize, colonies of hybrid species who saluted his ship as he passed. Some even escorted him briefly, offering supplies, calling him ancestor over the comms. For the first time in centuries, he felt something he hadn't dared to feel before, belonging. When he finally arrived at the Sol system, his heart ached. The stars were brighter, cleaner. Jupiter shimmered with auroras like dancing spirits, and Earth was there, whole again. The oceans glimmered blue, the continents alive with lights. Humanity's birthplace had returned, reborn from the rewritten fabric of time. Odyssey, he whispered, voice trembling. Scan it. The AI's tone carried something like awe. Atmosphere stable. Cities detected. Life signs, billions. He couldn't move. His eyes blurred with tears. After 1,000 years, after everything he had lost, Earth lived again. He descended through the clouds, the ship shaking as it entered the atmosphere. Thunder rolled across endless oceans, and for the first time since his childhood, he smelled rain. When he landed on a plain beside a vast white city that sparkled beneath the twin arcs of dawn, hundreds of figures were already waiting. They were human but different, taller, their eyes faintly luminous, their skin marked with faint constellations of light. Yet when they saw him step down the ramp, they knelt in silence. The woman who had sent the transmission approached him slowly, her voice trembling. We thought you were only a story, the one who carried us through the dark. Elias smiled faintly. If I did, he said softly, it was by accident. I just didn't want to let us die. She shook her head. You didn't save us, Elias Ward. You became us. She pointed toward the horizon, where a towering monument stood, a vast crystalline structure shaped like a ship, its design unmistakable. It was the Odyssey One, carved in eternal light. Around its base, words glowed in 1,000 languages, all translating to the same phrase. The kind shall live. Tears filled his eyes. You remembered, he whispered. The woman smiled. How could we forget? Every atom of the universe remembers you. In the years that followed, Elias stayed among them, a living relic in a world that had grown beyond him. He taught them what little he knew of the past, and they, in turn, showed him what humanity had become. A species no longer bound by war or fear, one that had learned to build not from domination but from memory. Yet even in this peace, something inside him stirred. Late at night, He would climb to the top of the monument and look at the stars, feeling the faint hum of the universe beneath his feet. Sometimes, in the wind, he swore he heard the witness whisper, not with anger, but with understanding. Balance has been restored, and though he grew older, slower, and frilier, Elias found peace in knowing that his people had not vanished into myth but risen beyond it. Humanity had finally earned the mercy of the cosmos. The AI, his oldest companion, remained by his side until its last system failed. On its final day, it spoke in the voice of the sea. "Commander, was it worth it?" Elias smiled through his tears. Every second. When he finally closed his eyes for the last time, the stars above Earth pulsed softly, as if bowing in farewell. His name was written in the constellations, woven into the very pulse of spacetime. And in the millennia that followed, every traveler who looked up at the night sky felt a quiet warmth they couldn't explain. The echo of a man who had refused to let his species forget kindness. And so the universe carried on, not as a monument to conquest or empire, but as a hymn to memory. The legend of Elias Ward endured, whispered by explorers, sung by civilizations who had never known his face but still knew his heart. And somewhere beyond the rim, where the first light of the galaxy still burns, the voice of the witness drifted through the void one last time, quiet and reverent. He remembered who we were, and so we remained. The centuries that followed became known as the Age of Remembrance. The galaxy that once drowned in silence was now alive with song, not just the hum of engines or the chatter of empires, but true harmony, born from a shared memory that transcended species, language, and even time. It began with a whisper, a ripple through the cosmic weave, a single phrase that echoed across every world, "The kind shall live." It appeared in data streams, in the dreams of children, even in the patterns of stars themselves. No one could trace its origin, though the historians all agreed on one thing. It began the day Elias Ward closed his eyes beneath the monument of the Odyssey One. On Earth, reborn and radiant, his grave was not a tomb but a garden. Trees grew in soil restored from the ashes of its former wars, their roots nourished by rain that had returned after 1,000 years of absence. Humanity, now evolved into the luminous species he had met upon his return, gathered there every year to celebrate the night of first light. They did not mourn Elias Ward. They remembered him, the man who had reminded the universe what it meant to be human. Children would stand beneath the stars and listen as the elders told his story, their voices carrying over the wind like prayer. And when they looked up, they could still see the faint shimmer of his name written among the constellations, glowing faintly like a heartbeat across the heavens. But his legacy was not confined to Earth. Across the spiral arms, civilizations that had once feared or hated each other now shared technology, culture, and peace. The alien descendants of those who had once fought humanity now called themselves the Covenant of Light, an alliance built not by treaties but by trust. Their ships traveled between galaxies, not for conquest, but for remembrance, carrying seeds of knowledge, songs of unity, and monuments to compassion. In the center of the galaxy, where the scars of the final war still lingered, a new structure was built, the Celestial Archive, a living station orbiting a star that burned brighter than any other. Inside it were recorded the memories of every species that had survived the old eras. The archive's first entry, glowing at its heart, was a single sentence spoken in Elias Ward's voice. "We are not defined by what we destroy, but by what we choose to remember." And yet, even in this age of peace, something strange began to stir. The very fabric of the universe seemed to hum with awareness. Stars pulsed in perfect rhythm across galaxies separated by millions of light years, as though connected by an unseen consciousness. Black holes, once silent and cold, began to emit faint, harmonic vibrations that resonated in patterns resembling Terran speech. Some scientists believed it was the lingering effect of the echo's destruction, a resonance imprinted upon the universe's foundations. Others whispered of something deeper, that the universe itself had begun to remember. On the 1000th anniversary of Elias Ward's death, a strange event occurred. Every communication array, every long-range sensor, Every ship and station across the galaxy received a signal at the same instant. It was not words. It was a melody, soft and familiar, composed of the same tones that had once played from the Odyssey 1's distress beacon. The music spread through the cosmos like light, resonating in every atom, every heart. And in that sound, many recognized something impossible, the faint echo of Elias's voice. "The stars dream of us," it said. "And when they do, we live again." The universe changed after that. Ships began to report anomalies, pockets of time where the past bled into the present, where explorers claimed to see fleeting images of old human cities shimmering like ghosts in the light of distant suns. On one frontier world, a crew discovered a structure buried beneath crystalline sand, a perfect replica of the Odyssey 1, untouched by decay, its systems still alive. When they entered, they found no crew, no remains, only a single message playing in a loop. "Remember who we were, and you will never die." The Covenant scientists couldn't explain it. The ship was not built by any known technology. Its molecular structure was older than the galaxy itself. Some said it was a manifestation of the universe's memory, a physical echo created by the ripple Elias had unleashed when he sealed the rift. Others believed that Elias had never truly died, that his essence, his consciousness, had merged with the cosmic weave, guiding the evolution of reality itself. Across the galaxy, people began reporting dreams of a man standing beneath the stars, his hand outstretched, his voice calm. He did not speak words of command or prophecy, only of choice. "Kindness is the gravity that binds creation," he would say. "Do not forget." Over millennia, the story of Elias Ward became something greater than myth. It became law, culture, identity. Planets took his name, Ward's reach, the Elias Belt, Ward Prime. Explorers who traveled beyond the known galaxies carried with them fragments of his code. A set of principles etched into every starship's AI core: empathy before action, memory before power, creation before conquest. It became the moral foundation of a civilization that stretched across light years, a civilization not ruled by fear or domination, but by remembrance. And still, beyond the mapped stars, something vast stirred. The witness, the ancient consciousness Elias had faced in the rift, was not gone, merely watching, changed. Once a being of judgment and silence, it now moved through the dark as a guardian of balance. Where cruelty arose, its shadow fell, not in wrath, but in gentle correction. When civilizations grew arrogant, stars dimmed to remind them of humility. When compassion faltered, a faint whisper would echo through the void: "The kind shall live." The universe itself had become self-aware, its soul forged from the memory of one man's mercy. In time, even time began to lose meaning. Entire galaxies merged into a single civilization, united not by species or origin, but by shared understanding. There were no wars, no empires, no tyrants, only the quiet harmony of a cosmos that had learned the truth Elias had died to teach. The witness, now reborn in light, looked upon the countless worlds and spoke into the heart of creation itself. He remembered who we were, and now we remember what we can become. And on one quiet world, orbiting the edge of a young star, beneath a sky full of silver constellations, a child looked up. She had never heard of Elias Ward, never studied the ancient wars, never read of Earth or its fall. Yet as she lay in the grass, she whispered to the night, "Thank you, whoever you were." The stars twinkled softly in answer, a gentle shimmer across the dark. Somewhere, perhaps beyond the veil of matter and time, Elias Ward smiled. His voice drifted across eternity, quiet as the breath of the sea. "If they remember, I am never truly gone." And so the stars continued to burn, not as the cold fires of endless space, but as living memories of every act of kindness that ever was. For the universe had learned the simplest and oldest truth of all: even in the vastest darkness, the light of humanity endures.